Welcome back to video session on building construction part 2. In this session, we will discuss RCC work and other building finishes, that is plastering, woodwork, plumbing, electrification, etc. So reinforced concrete, RCC work. The cement concrete provided with steel reinforcement for taking on tension, bending, torsion, fatigue, etc. is known as reinforced cement concrete. It is used for various structural members such as columns, beams, footings, slabs, etc. So this RCC work will take up mainly as per IS code IS 456. So BIS has also published some other special publications, explanatory code to IS 456 and handbook of concrete reinforcement and detailing and handbook of concrete mixes. So our topic will be based on these codes. So what do you mean by M20? So IS 456 2000 has designated the concrete mixes into a number of grades as M10, M15, M20, M25, M30, M40, etc. In this designation, M refers to the mix and the number refers to the compressive strength of concrete at 28 days in Newton per mm square. So this is the tabular form reproduced from IS code 456. So as per IS 456 new amendment, so there are concrete grades from M10 to M100 as shown in this table. So there are some factors which affect the properties of concrete. So the compressive strength is one of the most important and useful properties. So the factors which affect the compressive strength are given below. 1. Water cement ratio. 2. Age of cement, cement content, grading of the materials, use of admixtures, curing, compaction of concrete. So how they will affect the compressive strength, discuss now. So the first one is water cement ratio. So you can see in this figure or graph, as water cement ratio increases, compressive strength decreases. So normally water cement ratio falls under 0.4 to 0.6 as per IS 10262 2009, that is proportioning of concrete mixes code. So here there are some other graphs which shows the relation between water cement ratio, workability, water cement ratio and compressive strength, cement and cost. As seen from the graphs, as water cement ratio increases, workability increases. But if water cement ratio increases, compressive strength decreases. If cement increases, the cost also increases. Another factor is age of cement. So you can see in this graph, as the age of cement increases, the compressive strength decreases considerably. Grading of materials. For producing workable concrete with the minimum practical water cement ratio, good gradation of aggregates necessary. So good gradation means all fractions of aggregate particles must be present so as to reduce the void spaces. Cement content. Up to a certain limit, increase in the cement content increases the strength of the concrete. But if you go beyond certain limit, again the strength decreases. Therefore, IS 456 has prescribed the minimum content of cement and maximum content of cement for each grade. Use of admixtures. So use of admixtures influences the workability and also strength of the concrete. You can see in this graph without super plasticizers and with plasticizers. So with plasticizer, with super plasticizers, there will be increase in workability and also increase in the strength. So if you use admixtures at the same water cement ratio, so it increases both workability and strength of the cement without adding much water. So curing. So if curing is neglected in the early periods of hydration, the quality of concrete experiences a irreparable loss. Compaction of concrete. Compaction of concrete also plays an important role in achieving the desired strength of the concrete. You can see the effect in this picture clearly. Mixing of concrete. So mixing of concrete can be done by hand and machine. So what is the main object of mixing? The main object of the mixing is to coat the surface of all aggregate particles with the cement paste to blend all the ingredients into a homogeneous mass. Mixing of concrete is by machine is always preferred. Hand mixing can be used only for small quantities of concrete or due to non-availability of machine. So concrete mixers are of two types, batch mixers and continuous mixers. So in this diagram you can see the concrete stages, manual mixing of concrete, different stages. Similarly, in another picture you can see the method of operation of tilting mixer. So there are some precautions to be taken before and after during concreting by mixer. So one, the drum of the mixer should not be overloaded. Mixer should run only for 1.5 to 2 minutes for each bag of cement, with the rotation of the drum varying from 15 to 20 revolutions per minute. While loading the material, first you have to place coarse aggregate, then you have to place cement, and finally you have to place fine aggregate. So next one is transporting and placing of concrete. So immediately after mixing, the concrete should be transported to the site where it is required, and it should be placed immediately as quickly as possible without segregation and drying, and before the initial setting of cement takes place. So for ordinary simple works, a temporary ladder or manual labor, a temporary ladder is erected to convey the concrete by manual labor. For larger and important works, so mechanical equipment is being used, such as lift and hoist for tall structures, wheelbarrows, and even concrete pumping nowadays. These photographs shows different types of placing of concrete by manual labor, using lift and hoist, using wheelbarrow, using concrete pump. Compaction of concrete. So what do you mean by compaction of concrete? Compaction of concrete has to be done to expel the entrapped air from the concrete and to bring the particles closer so as to reduce the void space and make the concrete denser. So immediately after placing the concrete, you have to compact it. If the entrap air is not removed properly or completely, so there will be considerable reduction in the strength of the concrete. So as an example, you can see that 5% voids reduces the strength of the concrete by 20% and 10% voids by over 50%. So over compaction is also not allowed. So because it leads to segregation, while under compaction makes the concrete lean. So how compaction of concrete is done? So compaction of concrete can be carried out by hand, or it can be performed by using mechanical vibrators. Compaction of concrete by hand may be performed by ramming or hammering, rodding, tamping. So ramming is used for massive concrete works with the help of wooden and steel hammers, whereas rodding is adopted for compacting vertical sections like RCC walls, whereas tamping is adopted for compacting slabs and other horizontal surfaces. Compaction by machines is performed using mechanical vibrators. Here in this picture you can see compaction of concrete by rodding, by ramming, and by tamping. So this is another photograph taken from the field where compaction of concrete is done by ramming, by rodding, and by tamping. So this is another photograph depicting the use of needle vibrator, table vibrator, and screed vibrators. There are some correct use of using needle vibrators. So in this picture you can see how the needle vibrator is used. So first the needle vibrator is to be placed at the center of the concrete mix. So it should be pushed quickly, touching the bottom of the surface, and while withdrawing it should be withdrawn slowly. So curing of concrete. Next important step is curing of concrete. So what is meant by curing? Curing can be defined as keeping the reinforced cement concrete moist and warm enough so that hydration of cement can continue. So whatever the quantity of water that is added during concrete mix, that is sufficient, but due to evaporation losses some water will be evaporating. So we have to keep the concrete in moist condition. So what is the importance of curing? If curing is neglected in the early period of hydration, the quality of reinforced concrete experiences irreparable losses. For preparing good concrete, curing is as important as other criteria such as mixing, vibrating, and placing of concrete. Curing should be started just after the surface begins to dry. Normally 7 to 14 days of curing is considered adequate. So there are different methods of curing. So one, water curing. So again under water curing there are different methods. Immersion in curing tanks. So this method is adopted for cubes. When you are testing for cubes, you can immerse it in curing tanks and precast items, etc. Ponding for flooring slabs. Spraying and wet covering with gunny bags for vertical walls and columns, we use this method. There are other methods which we generally do not use in rural areas for small buildings. But just for your information sake, so the other methods of curing are membrane curing. So whenever there is acute shortage of water, you can use specially prepared paper or polythene sheeting for membrane curing. So application of heat. So it accelerates the hydration process. So application of heat is nothing but steam curing. Sometimes if you want the cube results immediately, then you have to adopt this steam curing method. Other miscellaneous methods are there. Some you can spray curing compounds. If there is any problem of water, you can use this one also. So these are some of the photographs. Curing by immersion, curing by ponding method, continuous sprinkling of water on vertical faces, covering concrete surfaces with gunny bags, covering with specially prepared paper, membrane concrete curing, concrete curing compounds. So another important item in this RCC work is testing of concrete. So concrete is to be tested when it is in fresh state. So fresh concrete, and whether after hardening of concrete also. So field tests on fresh concrete. So the simple test which you can conduct in the field is slump test. A slump test is performed to determine the workability of the crushed concrete and to check the uniformity of concrete from batch to batch. So laboratory tests of hardened concrete. So that is called simply cube test. So compressive strength of cubes helps in determining whether concrete mix proportions of various mix proportions of various materials were used to get the desired strength. So how this cube test is done? So place the cubes in the testing machine and apply load till it fails. So calculate the compressive strength, maximum load at failure by contact area. Cube test should be carried at the ages prescribed for the test, the most usual being 7 days and at the end of 28 days. There are other tests also, non-destructive tests on hardened concrete. These tests are also performed. So what are those tests? You can see here: ultrasonic pulse velocity test, rebound hammer test, tests on cores cut from hardened concrete. Form work. So what is form work? So form work, it is also known as centering or shuttering. So the temporary structure erected to support the concrete in its required shape till it hardens and becomes self-supporting is known as form work or centering or shuttering. So there are different types of formwork material. What are they? Wooden planks and props, steel plates, plywoods. So depending upon the necessity or the situation of the work, you can use any of these works. So nowadays steel formwork is being used extensively, but steel formwork is more expensive, but it is easy to erect and to de-shutter, and it will be having adjustable props. So you can use for slabs of varying height also. So these are some of the photographs showing different formworks. Next, de-shuttering. So what do you mean by de-shuttering? De-shuttering means the process of removing the shuttering. While de-shuttering, you have to follow some order. What is the order and method of removing formwork? So first, shutter forming vertical faces of walls, beams and columns should be removed first. Then shuttering forming soffit to slab should be removed next. Last or finally, shuttering forming soffit to beams or other heavy loaded member should be removed in the end. So first vertical faces to be removed, then de-shuttering to be done to the slab, then next to the beams. This is the table of de-shuttering period reproduced from the code IS 456-2000. So different types of formworks are shown here in one column and the minimum period before striking formworks. So for vertical formwork to columns and walls and beams, it is 16 to 24 hours. Soffit formwork to slabs, props to be refixed immediately after removal, it is 3 days. Soffit formwork to beams, props to be refixed immediately after removal of formwork, 7 days. Similarly, props to slabs spanning up to 4.5 meters, spanning over 4.5 meters is also shown here. So these are the some of the photographs showing the de-shuttering operations. Next, bar bending schedule. So what do you mean by bar bending schedule? So what is its purpose? Bar bending schedules help the site engineer and RCC fitters to give the exact cutting length of the steel required for each member, that is beam, slab, column, etc. So this reduces the wastage of steel. So every engineering assistant, they should prepare a bar bending schedule from the drawings, or sometimes even the consultants also, they will provide this bar bending schedule. So with the help of the bar bending schedule, the site engineer can calculate the exact quantity of steel required for slabs and beams. So here is a specimen bar schedule shown here. Here this bar bending schedule shows the shape of the bar, its length, how much number, so total length, unit weight and total weight. So from this specimen bar schedule, you can calculate the quantity of steel required for the structure. Some other important items which you should know while executing RCC works. The first and most important one is segregation of concrete. So what do you mean by segregation of concrete? Segregation means separation. So segregation of concrete is the separation of cement paste and aggregates of concrete from each other during handling and placement. So segregation of concrete, it affects strength and durability of structure. You should try to avoid segregation of aggregate. So why segregation occur? So segregation occurs due to uneven proportion of concrete ingredients not properly mixed, use of poor shuttering materials which leaks, poor workmanship while concreting, vibrating the concrete for a longer duration, pouring concrete from a height more than 1.5 meters. So here you can see the photograph where segregation of concrete has taken place. So here in this photograph you will be seeing aggregates are being separated. So this is a picture where a fresh concrete is shown without segregation. So here you will not see any aggregates being separated. Another important item is bleeding of concrete. So bleeding in fresh concrete refers to the process where free water in the mix is pushed upward to the surface when the settlement of heavier and solid particles takes place. So some bleeding is normal, some bleeding generally occurs, but excessive bleeding can be problematic. So you have to reduce bleeding in concrete. So how to reduce the bleeding in concrete? So you have to reduce the water content. So bleeding means rising of water to the top surface. So you have to reduce the water content. Reduce the water cementitious material ratio. Reduce the slump of the concrete. Increase the fineness of cementitious material. Increase the amount of fines in the sand. Use chemical admixtures that permit reduced water cement ratio. So here in this photograph you can see the bleeding of concrete. So water rises to the top surface of the concrete. Next, another important one is honeycomb in concrete. So what is honeycomb? Honeycomb is the rough pitted surface or voids in concrete formed due to improper compaction or incomplete filling of concrete. Causes of honeycombs in concrete. What are the causes of honeycombs in concrete? Why it occurs? Improper vibration during concrete, lesser cover to reinforcement bars, or closely spaced bars. If the reinforcement is placed very closely, then aggregates will not pass through that reinforcement and voids occurs there. Another cause is use of very stiff concrete also. If workability is less, then also this problem will be there. If you use stiff concrete, then there will be a problem of these honeycombs occurring. So what are the effects of honeycombs? Honeycombs means nothing but void spaces in the concrete. So if there are void spaces in the concrete, then what happens? Water enters inside the concrete, leading to corrosion in reinforcement. So honeycomb should be avoided, otherwise it will lead to reinforcement corrosion. So reduces durability, reduces load bearing capacity, and it reduces the structural strength also. So here in this picture you can see honeycombs in concrete. You can see it looks like a nest of honey bees. So that's why it is called honeycomb. Nominal mix. So there is a difference between nominal mix and design mix. So for small and petty works generally we use nominal mix, and for important works and for bigger works we go for design mix. So what is nominal mix? In the nominal mix concrete, all the ingredients and their proportions are prescribed in the standard specification. Normal mix is preferred for simpler, relatively and unimportant small concrete works. As per IS 456, nominal mix is used for concrete of M20 grade or lower grade such as M5, M7.5, M10, etc. Nominal mix generally contains volumetric batching. So design mix. So concrete mix design is the process of finding the proportion of materials which will produce concrete of required properties. The mix proportion should be selected in such a way that the resulting concrete is of desired workability while fresh, and it could be placed and compacted easily for the intended purpose. Design mix is more scientific than the nominal mix. Our design mix is widely used for more extensive and more important concrete works. Mixed design is based on the actual available material to be used in the construction work. The mixed design is to be done as per IS code 10262/2009. Construction joints. So what are construction joints? Construction joints are the joints provided between success pours of concrete that have been carried out after a time lag. So while pouring concrete, sometimes it is not possible to pour the concrete continuously. Sometimes there may be interruptions. Such cases, these construction joints arises. So as far as possible, construction joints should be avoided and every care should be taken to keep their number minimum. So joint means it is nothing but a plane of weakness within the concrete body. So therefore these joints should be pre-planned and their location should be such that they are at places where they are subjected to minimum bending moment and minimum shear force. So you have to locate, if necessary, you have to see that joints occur at such places where the bending moment and shear force is minimum. Next we will discuss some common mistakes which affect the quality of concrete. So these are the common mistakes which are generally seen in the field. Use of too much or too little water for mixing. So you should not use too much water or too little water. So you have to use water as per the design mix, what is prescribed, that is as per water cement ratio. So incomplete mixing of aggregate with cement, then also it leads to bad quality. Improper grading of aggregate resulting in segregation or bleeding of concrete. Inadequate compaction of concrete. So compaction of concrete, it should not be, over compaction should not be there, under compaction should not be there. So compaction should be proper. So using concrete which has already begun to set. So generally concrete sets within half an hour. So after initial setting of the time, you should not use that concrete. Placing of concrete on a dry foundation without properly wetting it water. So when you are using the concrete on a dry foundation, first you have to wet the surface. Otherwise what happens, that dry surface will absorb all the water from the concrete, and that water will not be sufficient for the concrete for hydration process. Use of dirty aggregate or water containing earthy matter, clay or lime. Too much troweling on the concrete surface. So these are common mistakes which affect the quality of concrete. Similarly, you have to observe some do's and don'ts while concreting. So you have to take many precautions while concreting. So there are some do's which you have to follow and there are some don'ts which you have to avoid occurring during concreting. So first we will discuss some do's. Start placement of concrete with adequate manpower, proper equipment and tools. So without these tools, without labor, you should not start the work. Always pour the concrete when the weather conditions are favorable. So when it is rainy, when the temperature is very high, when the wind is blowing, you should not pour concrete. First mix the dry concrete uniformly. Then sufficient quantity of water should be added as per the design mix or required quantity. Concrete must be placed within 15 to 20 minutes of pouring water. Always keep on checking the stability of props or supports of formwork below. Finish the surface and edges of concrete after placing of concrete using with trowels or wooden floats or metal floats. Ensure that the concrete is finished in the same direction when troweling. Do proper curing when the concrete has hardened initially. Start curing after 6 to 10 hours. There are some don'ts. So we will see don'ts which you should not do these things in the phase. So don't use a damaged formwork. So it affects the concrete resulting in the honeycomb because all cement paste will be leaked from the formwork. Next one, don't start concreting before casting of a concrete cube. To know the compressive strength of the concrete, first you have to cast the cubes, then only you have to start the concrete. Don't run concrete mixer for more than 2 minutes, resulting in segregation. If the mix is run for more time, then also segregation takes place. Don't add more water for ease of placement. So to increase the workability, don't add more water. Don't drop concrete from greater height because it will leads to segregation of concrete. Don't vibrate the concrete after the initial setting has taken place, that is after 30 minutes. Don't finish the concrete while bleeding is present on the surface of the concrete. So unless must and avoidable, never do concreting at night. So whatever the lighting arrangements you have made, it will not be sufficient. So therefore you should try to avoid concreting at night times. Don't remove formwork until the concrete has gained sufficient strength. Don't do concreting when it is raining heavily. So there is another thing, hacking of RCC surfaces. So where it is required, so if you want to plaster any RCC surface, so then it has to be hacked properly with a minimum of 500 numbers of depressions or notches per square meter of area. So in this picture shows the process of hacking of column is shown here. Now we will discuss doors and windows. So here we will discuss only important items, because nowadays doors and windows we are bringing ready-made items. So we need not study in depth about this doors and windows. So as you all know, the door has two parts. One part is frame and the second part is shutter. So first we will be fixing frame, then we will be fixing the shutter. So wood is the most popular choice for construction of door and window frames. So you can use any other material also for construction of this door, but wood is the common material. All members of the frames. So the important point which you should note here is all members of the frames are of same species of timber and be straight without any warp. That means if one member is teak wood, then the other member should also be teak wood. You should not mix up different species for the frames. The door frame is jointed with mortise and tenon joints, as this joint is the strongest one. The back portion of the door, which is in contact with the walls, lintels, is painted with bitumen or any other anti-termite chemical. Each prepared door frame is fitted with a temporary stretcher at bottom to keep the frame in position. To protect the door frame during construction, priming coat is done before fixing. There are some more points while fixing of door and window frames which you have to observe. So door and window frame should be fixed simultaneously with wall masonry. It will give good bonding of frame with wall. So sometimes if it is not possible, door and window frames can also be fixed in masonry, either at the time when the work is in progress or in the opening left in the masonry for fixing frames at a later date. Frames are fixed in the opening abutting masonry of concrete with iron hold fast. So these iron hold fasts are to be embedded in a concrete of proportion 1:3:6 in the masonry walls. For each wooden frame, minimum 3 hold fasts are fixed on either side of the frames. So one at the center and other two at 30 centimeters from the top and 30 centimeters from the bottom. While fixing frames, it should be into plumb, level and in straight line. Vertical members of frames are embedded in the floor for full thickness of the floor finish. So the next item is plastering. Plastering works provides a finished surface over the masonry work that is firm and smooth. So plaster is nothing but a layer of cement sand mortar applied over the masonry work. So what are the primary objectives of plastering? So the primary objectives of plastering are to protect the surface from atmospheric influences such as wind, rain, etc. So to cover the defective workmanship in masonry, if there is any defective workmanship in the masonry, so plastering will cover that defective workmanship. To conceal porous materials, so if these porous materials are not concealed with plastering, then water may penetrate into the walls. So to provide a suitable surface for color wash or painting. Next, to enhance the appearance of the building. Plastering the interior and exterior walls of a building is an important task, as it renders a perfect finish to the wall surface and add strength to the walls. So here also in the procedure of plastering work, there are some do's and don'ts. The outside plastering work should always start from the top and you should end at the bottom. Similarly, doing inside plastering, first you have to complete the ceiling plastering and then you have to start the wall plastering. The surface should be thoroughly washed with water, cleaned and kept wet before plastering is commenced. Again here the brickwork or stone masonry, whatever it may be, so it should be kept moist before plastering is done. The mortar which is used for plastering should be consumed within 30 minutes after adding water. So another important point while doing plastering which you have to observe is provide a drip mold at lower surface of chajja near external edge. So this is shown in the figure, I will show you that figure. So curing shall commence 24 hours after the plaster is laid. The plaster surface should be kept wet for a period of 7 days. Also there should be a gap of another 7 days from the first coat to the second coat. So here in this picture you can see some precautions which are to be taken during plastering work. So here in the chajja you have to provide a drip mold. So if drip mold is provided, water will not reach the walls, directly it will fall on the ground. So when you are plastering surface where RCC work and brick work meets, so you have to provide some chicken mesh and then you have to plaster on that chicken mesh. If you are plastering RCC works, as I told you earlier, so hacking is to be done. So another one is pointing. So pointing is a way of filling in the gaps between the bricks or stones on the outside of a building so that the surface becomes sealed. Generally pointing we do it for masonry work. Of course for brick wall work also you can do this pointing work for good appearance. So pointing in building maintenance means the technique of repairing mortar joints between bricks and other masonry elements. So next item is whitewash or color wash. So whitewash is used as a protective coating for the external and internal finish, which is applied directly to the brick or stone or plastered surfaces. When whitewash is mixed with coloring pigments, then we call it as colored wash. Generally ceilings are whitewashed and all walls are usually color washed. Whitewash is sometimes also called lime wash and can be easily made by using water. A small quantity of ultramarine blue shall be added to the last coats of whitewash solution to give good appearance. So painting work. Painting work is the finishing item in any construction. Painting affects the total appearance of the building from inside and outside. Therefore, it should be carried out with great skill of workmanship. So the following are some of the main objectives of painting work. So to protect the surface from atmospheric influences, just like plastering, it protects the surface from atmospheric influences and to preserve them from the decay, oxidation and corrosion. To improve the appearance of the surface, to facilitate the cleaning of the surface. What is the procedure of painting work? Make sure the plaster is dry. Apply water-based primer and let it dry. So apply the top coat. For the best results, you may need to apply more than one coat. Primer and putty give a smooth finish to the surfaces and eliminate defects such as cracks, undulations in the wall. So if there are any cracks in the walls, you have to apply putty. For deeper dents, the filling must be done with filler paste of thicker consistency and plaster of Paris. So these are some of the pictures depicting the procedure for painting work. So another important item is plumbing and sanitation. Plumbing includes water supply and sanitation system. Water supply and sanitation system is an essential service required for continuous supply of water and efficient disposal of wastewater. A building cannot be complete without plumbing and sanitation work. Approximately in our estimate, so we have to spend 8% of the total construction of the cost towards plumbing and sanitation work. So for an efficient plumbing system, it is important that standard plumbing and standard materials are used as per Bureau of Indian Standards. It is also important to provide quality workmanship, practical checks and supervisions during plumbing and sanitary works. So these are some of the books published by Bureau of Indian Standards which you can refer for more details. Handbooks on pipes and fittings for drinking water supply, handbooks on pumps for drinking water supply, handbooks on water supply and drainage with a special emphasis on plumbing. So these books you have to refer for more details on plumbing and sanitation work. So plumbing system includes water supply, galvanized iron or plastic pipes. Nowadays plastic pipes are being used and fixtures. Soil pipes and fixtures, sanitary drainage system to carry the wastewater from the plumbing fixtures to the public or private disposal system. Stormwater drainage system to collect and carry rainwater. Here there is a necessity and use of plumbing drawings. So plumbing and sanitation drawings prove useful. So these drawings will help you in calculating the accurate quantity of the materials to be used, for procuring good materials as per IS specification, to plan and execute the work properly, to avoid unnecessary wastage of the materials. So you should insist for plumbing drawings also. So material specification, ensure that all materials to be used are of approved quality and as per the specifications of Indian standards. Another important item is electrical work. Without this also the building is not complete. So planning is the most important factor before commencing any electrical work. By planning in the initial stages and preparing the electrical drawings accordingly, chances of mistakes by an engineer are reduced considerably. Given below are few points to be taken into consideration while planning and working. So what are the position and requirements of electrical points? So you should know where you have to fix the electrical points. what are its position and what are the requirements, how many number you have to fix. So that can be drawings provided. So heights of electrical points from finished floor level. What are the heights of the electrical points from the finished floor level? What are the sizes of the boards? That means how many switches etc. you have to provide in that board. So gauge of the wires, that should be known. Sizes of wires for various purposes. Color codes of the wires. So earthing is also an important. So what is the procedure of earthing, how it is to be done, that you should know. Testing of electrical wiring work. After completion of the work, you have to test for the electrical work. So there are some protective instruments also which are to be used in this as a part of this electrical work. So what are the MCB, miniature circuit board, fuses, circuit breakers for protection against earth fault, overload and short circuit. So this is the specimen electrical drawing is shown here. So this drawing gives you where the points are to be fixed. So you have to insist for electrical drawing also. So there is a code published by Bureau of Indian Standards, special publication SP 30 National Code 2011 covers the requirements relating to recommendations concerning wiring of electrical installations of buildings or industrial structures. So general safety procedures and practices in electrical work. You can refer for more details this electrical code published by Bureau of Indian Standards. So these are some of the pictures showing electrification work which you should avoid also. Okay. So with this we will be concluding this building construction. Thank you very much.